Just getting my friends. I hope they come. Invite. So I know everyone always makes fun of me for how ridiculous I am at the beginning of my videos when I'm just waiting for the people to come. But I realize it's not just me. Like there's like a whole world of, yay, Leandria's here, faster than Nick. There's a whole world of people saying that at the beginning of all these Instagram Live videos, they're awkward and they're weird, and we should be able to like start them when we want. Hi!
Made it.
You did it. You were like on it. Are you kidding?
I was ready.
You are like an Instagram genius.
I appreciate that because this is my first time, so I'm going to remember this.
You never forget your first.
True.
All right. Nick is trying to join us. Sometimes he has tech issues, but I can see he's in the room. Hi, Nick. It says you're unable to join. Maybe you have to use another device. Leandria, how are you today? Oh, hi.
Nick made it.
I've been sitting there listening to you trash talk me, Gabby. So,
That's what I'm here for.
So happy to be
601,
here.
and all three of us are on. This is really incredible.
Yes.
This
is
is
good.
amazing. Hi.
So good.
Well, welcome to both of you. I know you guys haven't even met, so I'm just throwing you together, but you are two of my absolute favorite human beings ever. So Leandria, Nick, Leandria.
Hello, Leandria. Lovely to meet you.
Yes, likewise.
She's so great. So I have a little bio here for Leandria. Do you want me to read it and introduce you officially?
I literally forgot I sent you that, but yes.
Okay, so let's do it. So everyone, this is Leandria. How do I pronounce your last name? Davis?
Devis.
Devis. Okay. So we've got Leandria Vickers Devis. And she is a career coach that helps, I'm looking over here because this is my notes, that helps students and adults shift their mindset about who they are to move into the person they want to become. That's kind of fucking fitting for this conversation. Leandria is an educator at heart and uses her passion to impact the lives of students and adults through empowering them with the knowledge needed to go after the career role they want and overall believe in themselves along the way. Leandria has had the opportunity to teach, coach, and empower all ages from elementary school to professionals and seek to continue to learn and grow through each person she meets. That was gorgeous.
Thank you. It's so true. It's all true.
I'm like already emotional. We haven't even started.
So funny.
So Leandria, I know you have like a few different kind of like hats that you wear, the way that you do the things that you describe that you do. Can you tell us how you spend your time?
Sure. So, yes, I wear different hats. So I currently work, I have two jobs. So part of my life is career coaching. So that is really like what I really love doing. I feel like I do it all the time. You know, you just have, it just comes out of you. But, you know, I try to make it official. So I'm really, really involved in the area of career coaching, trying to even grow in that area. So I do that. I work with an organization called LVE Enterprises, Leandria Vickers Enterprises, where I serve as the director of programs, really being able to empower professionals to grow in their career and advance in their career. So I do that. And then on the other side, I also work at a local college. I work as a manager in a tutoring center because I'm an educator at heart. And so I basically support students who are going to college to help them be successful in their classes. And then supporting those under me to be able to support their students. So I'm wearing both hats currently, and it's a juggle, it's a balance, but it's really a joy to be able to be in the field of education, but also to be empowering professionals as well as they're advancing in their career.
You know, I love that, and I also like I see so many through lines and so many connections there, right? Like, I mean, they're separate buckets, but I feel like there's in the Venn diagram they're more alike than different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, coaching is kind of just instilled. It's just part of me. And so I definitely 100% use it at the college where I am coaching my staff and how they should lead and how they should support their students. So it allows me to use both. And then even being on the education side, using that in the career world where I can create and develop programs and understanding how people learn and really implementing that as they're going through these programs for their own career. So it's
Mm,
been really cool.
mm.
What first attracted you to like the education space?
My parents are educators. So I actually, my parents actually started their own school. And
Wow.
so when I,
What?
this is something you didn't know, but they started their own school. It was a private school, and I went there from first grade to eighth grade. And so it's what I saw every day, just teaching, learning, growing, them building a school, growing a school. It's what I just grew up with. Uh, so going to high school and then going to college, I just wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to do those same things and help people and help them get to where they want to be. So that's where the education part came across. And I always thought with teaching, you have to be in the classroom. That was kind of one of my misconceptions is that you want to teach, okay, you got to be in the classroom. And so I went to school for elementary education and I taught years as an elementary teacher. And those few years were tough, being in the classroom. And it's not the kids, it's never the kids. It's just the whole school system can be really tough sometimes, especially with testing, and then even more testing. So that was definitely a drainer on my energy. And so I thought about like, where else can I still teach and still be able to support people? And then that brought me to coaching.
Mm.
Long story short, here's where I am today.
I love it. So, Leandria, we've been exploring desire and fulfillment, especially as it relates to career. But you know, as coaches, we believe we're all whole people, right? So, if we're
Yeah.
talking about our career, we're talking about everything in our lives. So, I'm really curious, like, what is it? How do you think about desire and fulfillment in these two worlds that you have this space in?
Yeah, the words desire and fulfillment are so abstract sometimes. It's just like, what do they mean? I feel them, but I don't know. So, what do and so desire, when I think about desire and fulfillment in space, I think we all have desires that out, whether it can be a cookie. Like I'm literally desiring a chocolate chip cookie right now. I would love to have one, but
Mm.
being disciplined right now, so I'm not going to give myself one. Um, and then there's other desires where you want to grow in your field. I want to be a better coach. And so those desires, and so I think it's really thinking about where's this desire coming from? Should I act on it? And then thinking about, am I going to act on it? So for example, one time I wanted to go to China. I had a friend who was over there and I was like, she was over there teaching. And so I said, this is probably going to be my only chance to go to China when I know someone who's living over there. So I said, and I felt this desire and I constantly felt it. And I was like, I should just do it. And so I did it. And I was trying to go with a friend. That didn't work out. And it just had to be me traveling over there by myself. And that was an experience in itself. But just doing it, whether it turned out to be a great trip or a horrible trip, that's the fulfillment part because I did it. And so for me, desire is like, I feel this thing, I feel it, I feel it, I feel it, think about it, should I do it? And then if I decide to do it, I do it wholeheartedly. And that to me is fulfillment because I went in giving 100%, regardless of the outcome. But the China trip was great. It was a wonderful trip. I would recommend anybody to go to it.
So how do you muster the courage or the power to just do it, right?
Yeah. That's a great question. I am a processor. I'm a thinker. So when I'm making a decision, I think from A to Z what could happen. And that could be a good thing and bad thing. Good thing and bad thing. But in making that decision, it's really about, for me, I think about regret.
Mm.
about, 2 years from now, next summer, or when my friend comes back, am I going to regret that I never went, that I never tried? And that actually is what pushes me a lot of times to do it, because I don't want to feel a feeling of regret. One time when I was in school, I was going from my parents' school to high school. And I was going from 8th grade to 9th grade. So I had to change schools. And I used to play the piano. I was classically trained and everything. And to get into this high school, I had to audition.
Mm-hmm.
And once they told me I had to audition, I said, no, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like proving myself. I don't want to do it. No, 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 no. And I went to another school that wasn't that great. But later on, my younger brother went to that same school I was supposed to go to. And he played guitar. He got in, did a great job. He loved the school. And so I looked back and I was like, man, like what would have happened if I just would have auditioned and I would have just gone to that school? I probably would be a professional classical pianist right now. Who knows? But I probably wouldn't have been. But I just think about a time where what if I actually stepped out and just pushed past my fears and actually did it? What would have happened? What would have been a different trajectory for me? And I don't like that what if. Oh, well, I don't like it. So ever since then, it's always been what can I do to make it happen? And if I at least try, I am satisfied. Regardless of the outcome, I am satisfied if I at least try.
Mm.
Well, what I heard in what you were just saying, as well as in the story around your trip to China, was that you are experiencing fulfillment in the journey, right?
Mm.
You felt fulfilled because you went to China. It could have been the worst trip of your life, and I'm really glad it wasn't. But that, it was the I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to figure it out, whether it was the logistics or the finances or the emotions or the planning or whatever it was. You're going to make it happen. When you touched down on that airplane is probably when you were like, that was fulfillment, right? And I think that what I find with my clients and with myself a lot is that sometimes I get so attached to the goal or the end game or the thing that I forget that actually it's about the journey, and that's the fulfillment. It's not let me make X number of dollars coming in my business. It's let me have fun building my business, connecting with people, impacting people. That's the fulfillment. And I think sometimes we forget. Sometimes we think it's just the checkbox end goal.
That's so good. And I love that you're pointing that out in terms of the journey. Because I too, I'm like, okay, 2 years from now, what is the point I want to be at? And I forget, I want to rush through everything in between. But that in between is the growth. That in between is where you grow as a person, your character. That in between is where things actually happen. So that's so true about just the journey. And I love that as you're building your business, Gabriella, that you're thinking about how can I have fun doing this? You're not just all into the numbers and how many clients can I get and requests. How can I have fun doing this? And that's you only live one life, and you have to enjoy it with this life that you have. So I agree 100%.
The other night with a group that I'm working with right now, I found myself saying that death is the destination, right? Everything else that comes before that is the journey, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just goal after goal after goal, and that's all the journey work. And so I love when the universe keeps bringing these themes up,
Yeah.
Always.
I know. Well, I'm sure you both have the experience of, when you have stuff in your space, your clients show up with that same stuff in your space. And
I have the same conversations just all week. And then it's like, what's going to be the new theme this week?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as you were speaking about just, how you muster this power to just do it. I'm also really curious about your relationship to vulnerability and how that plays into desire and fulfillment.
That's so good, because when I think about that and vulnerability, I can't even say it, vulnerability, I think about rejection, opening myself up to fail or open myself up for someone to reject me. I don't like that, and I'm sure no one likes that. And so I think that is part of the process of pushing past it, that vulnerability of saying, this trip may not turn out great. I might get lost in China. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, I think about, okay, yes, that could happen. But that failure part makes you stronger. That rejection part builds you to be a stronger person, at least for because I love everybody and I want everybody to like me. That's sometimes something I struggle with. I want everyone to like me, and then I try to figure out why they don't like me, and then but I'm learning I don't have to like everyone, and everyone to like me. That's another lesson. But vulnerability is so important, and thinking about like what makes us vulnerable and pushing past that, or understanding why is this a hard part, and then really reflecting on that for yourself. So when it comes up again, it is going to come up again. Like learning, how can I push past this, or who can I talk to help me push the point of where I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. I will share personally, part of my own personal work is around, or a big portion of it is around vulnerability, right? And so I'm always wondering, like, what is the key for other people? How are you managing it or processing it, or how are you framing your relationship to it? So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So Nick, can I ask you, how does that work in your realm? Like, how do you work through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it's always more reflective, because I think of all the situations where I do that what if thing too, right? But I don't always take action from it. More often, it's reflective or introspective, right? It's seeing that I'm sitting on the sideline instead of playing the game. But for me, vulnerability is it's hard. It's really hard, and there's some inner child stuff there. There's some wounding there around it, right? I mean, there's some deep stuff there for me, and so it is part of my pattern, which is evolving. The more work that I do of putting myself in situations where I'm gonna have a pretty clear idea of the answer or the outcome, right? And Gabriella and I have been working together long enough. I'm sure she has seen this, but but am I freezing? I feel like I'm freezing on my end.
You're good. You're good.
And now he's frozen.
We spoke too soon.
Okay, Nick, show us four fingers.
Okay,
Okay,
I think
you're
I'm
good.
back. I think I'm back with you. Um, so to answer your question, the process is often reflective. It's which is helping me to see it more often in the moment, right? So I take action from that, which is ultimately the goal for me, to notice when I'm avoiding vulnerability or being vulnerable, which is hard. Like, that's a hard lesson, especially if it's something that I've been doing for the past 30 years. um, you know and it's constant work for me. But the reason I ask about its relationship to desire and fulfillment is because of that what if thing, or playing out other scenarios in my head of situations where, because I had this aversion to being vulnerable, it limited or blocked some fulfillment that I needed or wanted, right? So I always love hearing other people's perspective, because I think it is helpful for me anyway in my personal work, and also the work that I do with others, to understand your frame and your perspective.
Yeah. The what ifs is a huge thing for me. Like, I use the analogy of, like, when I'm packing or going somewhere, I always pack extra, because I'm always like, what if
I
I
do
fall
the same thing.
and I need more clothes? What if blank? And so it's like this constant worry that sometimes follows me. It's just like I'm worrying about, what could have happened. But one thing I am learning is to live in the present, like to really be, here in the present. Like, yes, we can plan for the future. That's good and that's healthy. But don't be so concerned about the future that you forget about like what's right now and even what you can control, because we can't control. I like controlling things. I do like doing that. But I can't control everything. So what can I control? Let me focus on that and then live in the moment.
Mm,
I love
absolutely.
that. Yeah, I so love that. And it sounds like, these what ifs, right? Like I'm hearing you paint a picture of like a two-edged sword, right? Like there's a lot of positive, right? Like with packing, you're prepared. With, your goals, that keeps you driving, right? I don't want to have regret in the future. But also, as I'm hearing you say, is the what if can take you out.
Oh
Can
yeah,
take you out of being present. And then, we're full circle of taking you out of realizing, oh, this is the journey, this is the fulfillment already.
Mm.
And so it's super interesting because it does both, right?
it does. Yeah. Um, you're so right that it's just a two-edged sword. So it can keep you prepared, but it can also take you out 100%. And then you're off into this other world of what ifs, and then you're drowning yourself essentially in what ifs, and it's at that point it's hard to recover. I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
recover, but it's harder because you have to dig yourself back out of that hole and put yourself back in that place of, okay, those things could happen, but what can I do right now? What can I do right now in my realm of control to move forward?
So, if we're open, I'd love to like zoom all the way back because Leandria said something really cool at the beginning where she was like, I can feel desire and fulfillment, but I
Mm.
don't quite define that. And that so struck me. And like, part of me does want to ask, like, how would you define it? And like, we might play there, but I'm actually so drawn to like you talking about you feel it. Like, what does it feel like to have desire? What does it feel like to be fulfilled? What is that thing that you feel?
Whew, the feeling. So I think there's two separate feelings for desire and
Mhm.
fulfillment.
Yeah, totally. I'm mixing questions. Double questioning.
Okay. Desire is like I think there's two types of desires. So there's like a desire, like a rush. Like I get an idea and I'm like, yes, I can do this desire to like just go and do it. So then that's that type of desire. And then there's this other type of desire that just kind of like creeps up. And it's just like it slowly creeps up higher and higher and higher. And before you know it, you're like, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Maybe I should do something about it. I remember one time I was driving to Miami, so it's a lot of thinking and reflecting. But I was driving and I got this rush of an idea, like I should make a YouTube channel, which I should. I probably should. But I should make a YouTube channel. And then I was just like, this is such a great idea. I'm gonna start this tomorrow and make this YouTube channel. And then tomorrow came and I never made it. So it's like that rush of sometimes you just want to do something in the moment, which is good, but it may not stick. And then there's other times where this, desire, like it creeps up on you, like maybe you should go to China. Maybe you should go to China. Like your friends over there. Maybe you should go. Maybe you should. And then at one point you're like, yeah, I probably should. I've been thinking about this a lot. So I would say that there's for feelings, it could be a rush or it can be a creep up. Um,
Mm.
and then as far as fulfillment for me, it's like this peace, like like a feeling of just good. Like I feel good. Like for example, I wake up every day at 5:30 a.m. to go work. Um, I don't know why I picked that time, but I just I do it. I like to get my workout in before I go to work. But I will say every day at 6:30, once the workout is over, I have fulfillment. Like I got up, I went to the gym, I did this crazy workout, and now I'm done. And I can start the rest of my day. There's this peace, like, ooh, yes, I got this. I'm gonna keep moving forward. So that's how I define fulfillment. That's how I see it. It comes in different places because there's different situations. But for me, fulfillment is really that. I think it's something I'm always working towards in different areas of my life. And then there's like a boom, you fulfilled, and then you just a constant fulfillment that I'm kind of working towards. So that's how I feel those different things.
When you were talking about like the two forms of desire, that was so cool. And you talked about with the rush, at least in the example you gave, that then it kind of like falls off. But in the creep up, those are the ones that you more act on. Is that typically the relationship? Like the ones that are the rush don't necessarily get followed through on?
Yeah, sometimes I have to like put myself in check because I feel like I have a great idea and like, come on, this is a good idea. And then I realize maybe not, or like maybe you just had it was just a moment. So I have to really think about and reflect. Like, do I really want to? I have the desire, but do I really want to do this, or am I just feeling it right now? And I let a day go by, I let 2 days go by. Usually that tells me, yeah, you were just probably feeling that in that moment, that desire to do something. But that other desire that creeps up, those are the ones that usually do stick. That usually tell me like you've been thinking about this for a long time, or even like you mentioned, like the themes that come up each week, like this, like for example, we've all had it. Well, like I'm seeing this. This is the third time I see that. The fourth time, fifth time, maybe the world is trying to tell me something.
Love that.
That as well.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Tell us about your vision for your YouTube channel.
Wow, Gabriella. Okay. Well, so I eventually want to create a career coaching YouTube channel. I really do want to do that. When I had the idea, like I was all for it, and I was like, tomorrow it's happening, and then that didn't happen. But it's something I really want to plan out. So it's one of those desires that are like creeping up to really do. And I just want to make it fun. I want to bring about a different perspective on it. Because when we talk about career coaching, sometimes it can be so serious. Like you need to do a resume, you need to do a cover letter, you need to do interviewing, you got to be perfect at all these things. But I just want to bring some fun and laughter to these different topics, and just make it enjoyable for people. Like quick videos, like here's what you need, get in, get out. And of course, they'll complement my business that I want to continue moving forward with. So that's my idea. I've said it out loud now, and now I have to do it.
What's the boldest next step that you could take towards that goal?
She's coaching me right now. That's what she's. The boldest next step. Well, this is. See, I'm thinking too much about it. Is to record, to just start recording, or even get. This is actually the bold step, to buy editing software, because that's probably what I would need to make this happen and make like good quality videos, is some editing software. So that would be a bold step to take, and an investment too that I'll have to use.
Awesome. What support do you need?
Yeah, I just need check-ins, I would say. So people that are asking me, what's going on with your YouTube video or your YouTube channel? So
For
that
all you people listening, you all get to check in on Leandria
oh my
and
God.
ask when we get to see this amazing YouTube channel.
I have 100% accountability right now. The world
The
knows.
world knows.
The world knows.
Hear it.
So good.
Awesome. What how will that goal bring you fulfillment?
Oh, well, I think it's one of those things that I always wanted to do, like have a channel where I'm having subscribers and people are watching and so on and so on and sharing. I think that it's a great way to just really build a business, because you can have a business on YouTube and grow it and make money. So I think that is one form of income I would love to have. Just making videos. I mean, not that it's competition, but the quality of videos and people producing out there is like crazy amazing. I've just seen some videos and their editing and just creating is amazing. So, But I think at the end of the day, honestly, I forgot the question.
How will creating your YouTube channel fulfill you?
I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do, and to just do it and get, say that I have this building on it, that brings me fulfillment because it's something I've wanted to do. It really is. So just doing it will give me that. I woke up at 5:30 and now it's 6:30 and I finished this whole workout. I got it in.
Mm.
You could go to bed for the night at 6:30 a.m. Like you'd be done. You like already accomplished so much.
That's how I feel. I literally, I think about that. I'm like, I'm up at 5:30. I am 10 steps ahead most of the people in the world right now. That's how I feel sometimes. Like I'm above the game.
Yeah.
But
Also,
honestly,
if anyone hasn't seen videos of Leandria lifting, you need to see it because she's a
What?
beast. A
I, I
beast.
need to go find these lifting videos.
well, just follow me on Instagram
Yeah.
and you'll see them on my feed or the story on my story. I'm still learning,
I'm
No,
gonna
you're
I'm gonna
good. You're
go.
good. You got this.
I want to pivot a little bit, and I'm really curious as a career coach, like when people come to you and they say, I hate my job, I don't want to do this anymore, I need to do something else. Like what if you could distill all of your clients, like what are the top reasons people like hate their jobs?
Mm.
And what do we do about that?
That's such a good question. Um, there's so many reasons. I think one is because everyone goes into their job really wanting to like it. They want to like this job. They interviewed for it, did the whole process. They want to like it. But sometimes you get in it and then you spend about 6 months understanding the culture, what it is, and then you're like, oh, well, this is not what I thought it would be. Or I'm doing a lot more of this that I thought I wouldn't be doing. Or my passion is this, but my job wants me to do this. And so sometimes it's just, I think one, the culture of the company could cause disalignment. So the culture could be, this one thing, but you're in a different realm, a different space.
Mm.
Uh, it could be a toxic environment that people are trying to leave. Maybe it's a good job, but just the people there. It could be something. There's many reasons. It could be things like I mentioned that you thought you would be doing, but you're not doing, or there's a shift that happens, and now you're no longer doing the things that you want to do. I think also two people grow, so they go into a role, and then 3 years in, 4 years later, they're like, I've really kind of outgrown this role. I want to push myself to do something different. And
Mm.
then that becomes, I'm ready to make a shift as well, because it doesn't bring them any enjoyment anymore. It's not fun anymore. They've kind of outgrown it, which is a good thing because you want to be growing. You want to get to the next level. So I think I see, and I don't know, Gabrielle, if you want to add, because I'm sure you have things to add.
Oh, you touched upon the big ones. I mean, I think like no faith in leadership, not connecting with the culture, right? Maybe they don't feel like it's not like maybe they feel like it's not a inclusive or just culture. Um, I also think sometimes people are just not in the right role, right? Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, how many times have you made a decision based off of a fear, right? Like, I'm going to take that job because it was the first one I was offered. I'm going to take that job because it pays the most. I'm going to take that job because it's a cool company. And then you get in, and just because it checked those boxes does not mean that it's your like soul connected, fulfilled experience. And then they're like, shit, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. Um,
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. So
Well, and I'm also thinking about the fact that, I mean, how lucky we are that we can make those choices now, right? Because even 20 years ago, I mean, you started a job and you stayed with it for 40 years, right? And then you retired and you were done, right? And you had to put up with the bullshit, or at least you thought you had to put up with the bullshit. And so I love that we're in this place that we're even able to do something like go to a career coach to figure out or what's next.
so true. my dad, he retired about 3 years ago, and he spent 40 years at one place. 40 years. Or maybe it was 30. It was 30 to 40, one of those things.
Insane.
But even 30 is a lot. That's
No,
a
that's literally almost my whole life. Like, what?
Yes, exactly. And Nick, you're so right to be in a place where we can really have support in saying, I don't like where I am. I want to shift, and having tools to do that and not feeling like you have to be stuck in this place that you don't like. I mean, I think that's huge. I think we're, a privileged generation to be able to experience that and to even have companies like that. Oh, you spent 4 years here, 5 years here. Like that's not counted against. Because at one point it would have been counted against you, like your job hopping. Um, but now it's more embraced. Like, okay, you have different experiences in different companies. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or even to have a generation of leaders that wants to develop you, right? And understands that you might not stay, 4 or 5 years with us, and then you're going to move on. So, and because you're going to be out in the world, we want you to be an ambassador for our company. So we're going to develop you, right? I mean,
So true.
um, at least I have had that experience, and I see that on my side. But I think it's more common than not anymore, that development is encouraged.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, in most, well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but usually it's like we want you to stay. This is you're a
Yeah.
good talent. Stay. So we're going to do whatever we can to get you to stay. So it's amazing when you run into companies that understand you're going to probably stay here for 4 to 5 years. We know this. So here's what we're going to do for you, and here's in return what we're hoping you do for us during that time. So
Hmm.
I think that is powerful, and that would make me want to stay because you're investing in me as a person, as a professional, and that even if I do leave, I know that I have a company that cares about me as a person. And I think that's a big thing I was talking with one of my staff members today. People want to feel like they care, that their company cares about them, that
Mm.
they're not just another number um, on the payroll sheet, that they actually feel like I belong here. So companies that do that is great.
You just said something that like blew my mind. Like maybe I'm just like behind the curve and like everyone's like on this page, but when you said like a company just essentially knows when they hire, like you're going to stay, whatever the stats are, approximately 45 years. So, what's the way that we can both utilize you the best, knowing that it's this time frame, and develop you as a person and as a professional for the future? Because the way that I've always looked at it, as much as I'd like to think I don't, is like a me versus them, right? An employee versus an employer. I like to think that I don't, but I think that I do. And it's that like when you hire, it's like, I'm just going to hope that they stay forever and I'm just going to like focus as if this is forever. And that's what gets companies so screwed
Yeah.
when there are big changes and when there's things like the great resignation. And that's what has you maybe not utilizing the person in the best way. And I think if there's more transparency between employees and employers, but also if just employers are treating people like what's most likely is we're going to have you for 5 years, like it's so interesting what could shift.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's a different mindset of operating as a company, because they no one wants a high turnover rate, and but I don't think that wouldn't be a high turnover rate. That would be we're cultivating quality employees that are going to go and continue, like you said, Nick, represent us and our brand wherever they go. So when they see that name on their resume, like, oh, you work there,
Yeah.
we know you're good, we know you're talented. Um,
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I haven't ran into too many companies that do that. Most of it's, you're hired, we want you forever.
Which is understandable,
It is.
but it's also maybe not the best approach.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's that scarcity mindset, right? Like there's a belief that there's a finite amount of talent, and maybe for certain job functions or roles or expert mastery of skill, that maybe that's true. But um, I always think about this scarcity mindset that we have, and you mentioned like turnover rates, and like we know that turnover is normal, right? Like churn is healthy, right? We should have churn. And I don't know that things like turn, I mean, turn and retention are still major metrics. I don't know that they have as much weight as they used to, right? Because of what we're talking about here, that people may only be around for 4 or 5 years, and we're going to do what we can to develop them, and then they're going to go on and do something else, and we're going to bring in new talent, right? And also this embrace of speaking of new talent, this embrace of new ideas, and I guess I'm also really curious, if a client comes to you and they do the work and they end up getting a new job, like what other support or information do you want them to have when they go into this new role? Or I don't know, or is there anything, right?
Yeah, that's so important. I think sometimes we are so focused on getting the job that we forget, like once you get the job, you want to do a good job or you want to start yourself off very well. So even things such as when you're in the role, you want to understand what are the keys to being successful. So asking your supervisor, like, I'm here, and so in these next 90 days, what will make me successful in this role? What are the things I need to accomplish, the markers I need to hit? So just really defining that for yourself going in, so it's not like, I'm here, okay, what do what's next? Like really making your mark wherever you're going. And then even making connections too. So yes, you're there, but now what connections and relationships can you make? So whether it be other colleagues, people from other departments, even those in leadership, reaching out and saying, hey, I'm new here. Would love to have a conversation with you just about your role, what you're doing, how I can support. Creating those connections are so important. You don't want to be in a bubble. Sometimes we can do that. We join a department and start a department, and these
Yeah.
and it's also comfortable to do that. I will say so myself. It's comfortable sometimes to just be in your bubble, but you really have to expand that bubble and even do some cold outreach. You see someone walking down the hall. Hey, I saw your name on blank and blank. I love the work that you're doing. I would love to some time to chat. And you'll be surprised how many people would say, yeah, for sure. Because number one, people love talking about themselves. People love talking about themselves. Hence, Instagram. The whole thing is built on people just showing who they are, what they do, and blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So creating connections, giving a chance to get to know people, setting goals and markers for yourself, I think are just some of the best ways to start off in a new role. Because once you're in, and yes, you have a job, but you want to make sure you are on point and hitting everything that you should be hitting, so that they know, wow, we definitely hired someone who's giving us quality work or quality results ultimately.
Amazing. I
I
could
love
talk
that
to
so
you
much.
all
I think
day.
I think what I'm getting from what
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah,
were
yeah.
we talking over one another?
I was just
No, I
yelling
was
my
I was just gonna
love
say I
part.
think what I'm I think what I think what I'm hearing you say is, that we get to take responsibility for our onboarding, for our entry into the new role, the new culture, whatever, right? Like I think a lot of times folks get a new job and they're like, well, I'm just going to wait and see what people give me,
Yeah.
and onboarding, but I am here to tell you so much of the onboarding out there sucks, and I just I think that too. I mean, there's some really good onboarding, right? But I think a lot of it just misses a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of things just get missed, right? And but it's a good reminder that we get to take responsibility for that too, right? If we have gaps, we need to speak up and say something, or if there's something we don't know, we can ask. It's okay to ask, right? So I really appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah. I love how you phrased that or just summed it up. Take responsibility for your role. Once you get into it, don't leave it just up in the air. I'll wait till they tell me what's next. No, take responsibility. And that doesn't mean that like you're like now the leader or like you now have to step up as a leader. That doesn't mean that. It just means you're taking responsibility to make sure that you are giving yourself the keys to be successful in this new role and in this new space.
Mm.
Uh, and Nash. That's Nash, right? Dash Nash.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
minute that we started our call, she decided to be the devil, so I apologize. This is her witching hour. She's like a perfect dog for 22 hours of the day, and then between like 5 and 7, she's the devil. So are
Is
you the
this what
devil? She's the devil. Anyway, this was awesome. You are one of my favorite human beings, Leandria, and you, Nick. So these conversations are so fun. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you
absolutely?
all for thinking of me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this conversation. You work all day, but like this conversation just gave me like a burst of energy because it was just so great talking about these things and talking with you. So I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you so much. Everybody follow Leandria, not only for her amazing weightlifting and for news on her YouTube, but her amazing coaching and all of the educational work she does. She's real special.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.